Hi friends, welcome back. So oftentimes people ask me, hey Chris, what's a good price target for Tesla? Well, we've got a new one today, $14. You heard that correctly, $14. And moreover, could Tesla go bust? This is the headlines coming out of CNBC today. Noted Tesla bear says Musk EV maker could go bust, says stock is worth $14. If you're currently following Tesla stock, has been on an awful run this year, run to the downside that is. Currently trading about roughly 60% from the high. It is currently at $164. And I guess according to this, we got a long ways to go. I want to listen to a couple of things that this guy has to say. I think it's really quite interesting, and I'll share my thoughts, and I want to get yours as well. So let's have a listen. So this is, again, talking about Tesla going bust and price target of $14.
I totally disagree with this. Earnings are coming down very, very quickly. I totally agree with the description, unmitigated disaster. I think he meant really bad quarter. What I think here is that this was really the beginning of the end of the Tesla bubble, which probably arguably was the biggest stock market bubble in modern history.
So there's actually a couple things that I want to add on to this one. When we're talking about bubbles, right? So Tesla's clearly in a bubble. The whole EV industry was in a bubble. The things that really stick out to me is you have the CEOs just off doing crazy things, buying other companies, be it Twitter right here. And this kind of like, showing basically how the end of these things, play out. Remember Elon Musk was like tweeting out how Dogecoin is awesome. He goes on Saturday Night Live. Like that kind of stuff really emanates bubble, right? Moreover, he had this like crazy compensation plan. You guys know what I'm talking about as well. And like all these things added up. When we look back at 10 years from now, we're probably going to laugh like, why did anyone invest money in this crazy guy? I keep mentioning to you guys many times, Elon Musk is 52. He's not going to do this forever. And I understand if you're 20 years old, you don't think about this kind of stuff, but it's real, guys. People get old. It happens. Elon Musk is 52, and like, do you expect him to work much longer? Moreover, because I feel like the Tesla, sort of train or bandwagon is really riding on Elon Musk. What happens if he leaves? The big thing that I want to add on to when we're talking, whether or not Tesla is the biggest bubble in stock market history, remember that Tesla is the most popular stock among retail investors. And moreover, it's the most popular stock on YouTube. People love to talk about it because it's funny to talk about. There's always some crazy story going on with this. Like, for example, this is one as well. Will this $14 price target come true? And also, too, will it go bust? But when you think about this logically, if there's a particular stock that all of the amateur/retail investors are into, is that the one you want to be into as well? If you listen to the pumper YouTubers, will say, yes, you got to jump in with all the other amateurs. If you listen to yourself, just like think how crazy that sounds. And this is essentially sort of what they've been telling you. And yes, it can work until it doesn't, and you're down 60% on your money. And it's been like that the last couple of years. I want to play a little bit more and have a listen. I think it's really quite interesting.
I think the company could go bust. And because
You think Tesla could go bust?
Yes. Because you have to explain that, I have to reverse. What was the Tesla business model? 3 elements. Number one, for 10 years, they've said 50% annual revenue growth. That has been valid up to January. Second, integrate vertically, so you capture all the value from the car sales. Third, direct sales, no value to any retailer, etc. That's a brilliant model when you grow, because you have negative working capital, so you actually get paid for growing, and you capture all the margin. The problem is, when you go in the reverse and sales go down, it also goes in reverse. You have all the fixed costs, which you have to spread on a smaller volume. And you also have the fact of that you have your negative working capital unwinding. So I think that the real shocker for the market here is going to be the actual numbers, which come in 2.5 weeks' time, because the market is thinking 2 billion positive cash flow. It's going to be minus 2 billion cash flow on my numbers.
So he's predicting to go from 2 billion positive cash flow to 2 billion negative cash flow, which is like a 4 billion change. We'll see if it ends up being that big. But what I think was fascinating what he was talking about here is essentially the way Tesla is built, right, with all this integration. It's very, very positive, and you reap all the rewards going up. But then when you start to go down, which is what it's been doing, you start essentially reaping all of the negatives and all of the fails and all of the losses as it goes down. So this could actually be a crazy bubble that we've seen where you have this massive run up and then a massive fall off. Moreover, and I'm talking about in terms of the stock, because oftentimes people say, hey, what's the target, et cetera, et cetera. I'm telling you, $14. That's what we're looking at here. And I'm just laughing because this is actually like a realistic possibility. Moreover, listen to some of this, what else he has to say. I think it's really fascinating, and I'll play some here for you.
And quarter on quarter. I don't see any reason whatsoever to see any recovery over the next 2 years, given that these models are stale and given the economy is not rocketing. And so if you take, I'm having on quarter next, in 2 weeks' time, I have around 30 cents of earnings. Sure. Do that times 4, you are at 140. On a no-growth stocks, you should be at 10 times earnings. 10 times 140 means $14. That's probably a fair valuation.
So moreover, that's how he's getting his $14. But basically, you're saying, hey, if you're not growing, we're going to value it like a Ford, something like that, right? 10 times. Moreover, which I think is really quite interesting, he mentions it earlier, and I can just tell you what it is, though, is that, hey, Tesla's only got a couple models that they sell really well, right? The 3 and the Y. They haven't been updated for years. They're, essentially looking pretty old. And they don't have anything new for at least 2 years, right? Could be longer. Who knows? What Elon time is. Now, I'm sure the bulls will tell you, hey guys, that Cybertruck's going to sell, millions of vehicles. This is why we always laugh over here when we talk about Cybertruck. I'm not seeing it. I just don't think it's going to be the type of vehicle where everyone's going to run out to buy it. And even if they wanted to, the money's not there, right? Because I've heard the Tesla bulls try to defend Tesla and say, oh, it's not really Tesla's fault. It's just that the EV market and car sales are down, interest rates are up. But it's like, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. What do I mean by that? It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter if it's your fault or not. So here's a simple example. Let's say that you are the best fisherman in the world. You are awesome at fish, right? You catch all the fish all the time. You go to the lake, there's no water. It doesn't matter how good of a fisherman you are. It doesn't matter how much you love your rod, and I know you love your rod. Right? In this example, I know you love Elon, right? But there's no money there. There's no fish. There's no water. You can't do anything. You're in an industry that's also cyclical, right? So people don't necessarily buy a car every single year, right? They may buy a car, and maybe 5 years later they buy another one, independent of what the economy is doing, what people think about their jobs. That's sort of why we track all this stuff all the time. But if you're worried about the state of the economy / state of your job, you're going to hold on to your car a little bit longer. You're not going to necessarily want to change and jump into a new one because you're just not willing to throw money at those kind of things. The other thing too, which I think is important to mention, and he mentions it as well, is that you have other brands that are developing competitors, right? So you have essentially a stale and old design from Tesla that is, a massive need of a refresh and a valuable refresh, right? You have Elon constantly promising, new products, but they don't come. They come late. This is the kind of thing like, for example, the bulls are going to say, hey, that $25,000 car is coming. It's like, okay, where is it, guys? Or they'll be like, hey, that FSD is coming. Everyone's going to subscribe to it and buy into it. They're all going to pay $200 a month. And like, those are the kind of things that where this is just a reality, guys. When you're in this thing, long enough and you keep promising something, eventually someone's going to be like, I want to see numbers. I want to see results. I want to see the actual money flowing in. And I think these sort of like promises of Elon and essentially the bubble getting bigger and bigger and bigger is ultimately going to catch up to you if you can't deliver, right? Moreover, when you look at the stock here, guys, this is just the reality of it here. So this is actually being generous. So they're saying here 38 PE. The reason why I'm saying is generous because there was a accounting, how can I say, accounting one-time one-off thing in the last earnings report. And so then I believe that Google uses GAAP, but if you look at the non-GAAP, their P is actually more like 50. So you could be looking at, again, $14 stock from here. The basic gist of it is that this is just real. There can be, certainly you can make money on a stock when it's in a bubble, right? When a company is essentially priced to perfection is how they say, meaning that everyone's expecting this 50% growth forever. It's all going to be awesome. Everyone's going to double their money. But suddenly when it's really clear that the growth isn't there and your CEO is off moonlighting with, Twitter, it doesn't look good. It's not a good look, right? If in a typically regular company, if there's something going wrong, something failing, oftentimes the board will get together and be like, "Yo, you're out," right? And you can look at any number of companies like I'll just use a simple example of like Disney. They're like, hey, we want some results. We want that money coming in. Let's, change our CEOs. I'm just giving you a simple example of Disney. And it's funny too. This is a true story. Elon Musk was even tweeting out, oh, if there's like a new buyer, I think his Peltz's name is, going to come in Disney, then maybe I'll start buying shares of Disney. Like just think about like how crazy that is. If like you're the CEO of a major company, Tesla, and now you're tweeting out that you're going to buy, shares in Disney. And before it was a joke that he was tweeting out that he was going to buy shares in Twitter. He got called on his joke and ended up buying Twitter. We'll see if his money gets diverted over to Disney. I can promise you that the lenders over at Morgan Stanley who lent money to Elon Musk to buy Twitter are getting pretty nervous. And what's going to happen with this thing? Because there's a possibility as well that Elon Musk may be forced to sell his stock and create yet more selling pressure. And again, you're in a stock that's popular among retail investors. It's not necessarily the place you want to be. Retail is going to be out of money. And I'm curious to see what's going to happen with this. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one. What do you think? Is this $14? Uh-oh, what's going on here? One rate cut this year. Oh, no. This is a breaking news. Atlanta Fed President Bostic sees only one rate cut this year occurring in the fourth quarter. So Wall Street wanted 3 cuts. Now we're going with only 1, I guess. I don't think they're probably going to cut it at all. But you got that put together. So you got a hostile environment, right? Rate cuts, etc. May not be happening the way Wall Street wants it. You also have slowing sales. You have also too, sort of this connected problem of Elon Musk out doing crazy things. And now you got people vocally saying, hey, $14 for Tesla stock and it could go bust. So that's the question. Is this the largest stock market bubble in history? And will we see it pop live? So you know how I feel about these things. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And I'll catch you next video.